How are you today? Here I am one more time. It's a blessing, when you rise with the sun, open your eyes, and you're able to, unaided, get out of bed. Get on your shoes and clothes and have your morning coffee, and then step out. I consider myself a road scholar, ROAD, road scholar. Being on the road, especially in the mountains, as I am now, that's where I get my greatest inspiration. One of my favorite books by Alan Watts, Cloud Hidden, Whereabouts Unknown. When you wake up and you look out at the mist on the mountain, it's just incredible. Yesterday, the theme of my morning global broadcast was gratitude. And we explained how grace is the reward that you get for gratitude. The previous morning, my theme was time, where I explained that you can't relive the past, nor can you pre-live the future. All you have is now. This construct called time is just a convenient way of documenting our passage through space and time. The theme this morning is a wonderful word called entropy. Entropy. Entropy is the second law of thermodynamics. Basically, what it says, that things go from order to disorder unless energy is exerted. Things don't naturally get better. Things naturally get worse unless energy is exerted. And we are the stewards of this global space. It is up to us to make it better because there's a constant fight against entropy. Entropy is physical, it is also psychological, it's also social. What prompted my need to talk about this morning? On social media, I noticed a uproar taking place between artists formerly known as Lady Saw, now Minister Marian Hall, where she was making some commentary about other women who are currently in the dancehall space. And she was quite critical of how they conduct themselves. I'm sure knowing well that she too was considered the queen of the pack, and she too was in that. But she has now seen another way of viewing the world, and she's commenting. What I find interesting is the entropy. The number of persons who are piling on and encouraging what is so commonly called mix up, the tracing match. And I glanced at a couple of them, what Spice had to say. Then I looked at what Macadiamond had to say, what Marian Hall had to say. But then, even more outstanding was the comments. Yes, all these names are now trending on Twitter, trending on Instagram. And we're seeing the kind of comments. Each one, well, let's not say each one, the majority of them encouraging the mix-up, encouraging them to push it further and what else should be said and can be said. I remember growing up, when two children, let's call them that, or even two grown persons, were now starting a fight. And persons would intervene and say, stop it. What happens now? You see a fight brewing with a verbal skirmish and then emotional and then physical. What happens? People pull out their cell phones to start videotaping it, to capturing it. And of course, there are those who are encouraging it. who are pushing it, who are encouraging the combatants, and ultimately somebody gets hurt. So we're talking about, we have now moved from a place where we were our brother's keepers. When we saw or we heard somebody being a little careless in their speech and being a little violent, we would step in to stop it. No, it's not so. Social media, apparently the main role is to push people towards entropy, push people to say more dangerous things, to do more outrageous things. So this morning, I shared two passages from the wisdom tradition known as the Bible. And one talks about that, the book of Proverbs talk about that it is what comes out of your mouth oftentimes that causes you to sin. Remember that word? And then in the book of Matthew, we're admonished that it is not what goes into you that defile you, but what comes out of you. It's amazing when I listen to women express themselves in a particular way, both physically and, should I say, intellectually or just verbally. There was a time we didn't expect, we didn't hear certain kind of expressions coming from women. Now that's no longer so. And we see the entropy taking place. Things go from order to disorder unless energy is exerted. So I felt it was my duty to exert some energy. So I posted tagging both combatants, reminding them that it is what comes out of the mouth that defiles one. And I'm encouraging you all, folks. I mean, look, we live in this space called Earth. When we see combatants, sometimes all it takes is one person to step in and say, no, stop it. There's a better way. On the global stage, we see what's going on now between the United States and Russia. And we see both sides taking sides and other people. And no good can come out of this. Somebody has to step in. That's why certain individuals make their mark in history as the peacemakers. Persons who step forward and say, listen, no, no. One of my favorite quotes from the late Bishop Tutu was that for you to be silent, for you to be neutral in the face of oppression, this means that you have automatically taken sides with the oppressor. You're taking sides with the oppressor. So we can't be neutral. If we are silent, and there's an incredible passage from the work of His Imperial Majesty where he talks about all it takes to be silent in order for bad men to prosper, for good people to say nothing, for evil to persist. So may I suggest that, I mean, we break the silence. We say something. We say something. You understand the kind of power, the soft power and the influence that our popular culture has, that media has. And if these two antagonists, these two women, if they could raise the quality of their argument, it is suggested that you raise the quality of your argument, not the decibel of your voice, in order for you to get something done. So could we each in our own little way just do something, just say something? Yesterday in the afternoon, I heard the voice of some young men outside my gate, and it sounded like they were sort of in a one spot. So that I looked out, and my road is probably one of the worst roads in this capital city, the potholes. When I spoke to the MP, she said that they had forgotten that this is technically a main road because people use this road to avoid the congestion on the official main road. So that's why it was not paved, and it's getting worse every day. But there was a group of young men there. They were using cement and stones and gravel, and they were patching the, let's not call them potholes, they were craters. So I offered two things. One, water. I put my hose, garden hose, through my fence and said, whenever you wanted more water, just come. And I turned it on and would give them a couple of buckets of water. And then I went out and I identified one who appeared to be in a kind of leadership role. And I just handed him $2,000. And I said, make sure that you share it. And I pointed out to the others that I gave a little contribution for all of them, because I know that as the evening would pass by, persons would be. So here is a situation. Huh? This was the opposite of entropy. Things go from order to disorder unless energy is exerted. The government exerted no upward energy. Ultimately, the young men in the area decided that they would. And I could not do anything less than do my part to go out and, one, encourage them, endorse them, and give them a change, a little encouragement. So, folks, you can't save everybody. You can't do everything, but you can do one thing. Whatever you can do, just in the context of where you live or where you work, each one of us can do something to improve the overall quality. If we don't, entropy wins. Entropy wins. Do your part today. We give thanks. We give thanks.